Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode about the movies with William Fletcher. As per usual, I am your host, William Fletcher, and I'm joined once again by Mr. Harry Jobson.
Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Hi. It's a little bit of
And,
tay-tay for your crowd.
Aiming to a new demographic this week.
Oh yeah, of course. The Swiftie. Do you know how many Swifties there are?
There's a lot.
There's an incredible amount of Swifties in the world. Like the fact that her marrying like NFL players as big as it is insane.
But this week we are talking about This Is Spinal Tap, because they're making a sequel is coming out soon this week. Maybe I think it's this week, maybe next week. I don't remember exactly when. It'll be out soon, and yeah, that's what we're talking about this week. So I watched this like a couple weeks ago because I was planning to talk about this like much earlier and putting this episode out much earlier. So it's been a bit since I've watched it, and so I probably am gonna. I don't know how much I'll be able to say just because
I watched it today and I don't know how much I'll be able to say.
I don't. Yeah, because I mean, yeah, I did watch it for the first time for the purposes of this podcast. Like I never seen it before. But
yeah, I'd never said I'd heard of it. Like I'd heard of the band Spinal Tap, which is weird considering they only exist because of this film.
Yeah, no, I was aware of the film, and I knew it's sort of a cult favorite. I think it's sort of it's very much for a certain group of people. It's people think it's great, and comedians hold it up as like a great film and like one of their favorite films, or certainly favorite comedies, if nothing else. But
it's the situation of like your rapper's favorite rapper. It's your like comedic filmmaker's favorite comedic film. And I'm going to do that thing remember when we were in high school? We didn't go to high school together, but this is a universal experience to everyone who was in high school. And you would run out of words, but you still had to meet the word count of an essay. And you'd sort of just like start to embellish and go into weird areas where you were just like, this kind of led nowhere, but it was somewhat related to what the like, let's say thesis was. So it was just like, okay, I guess it counts to make up, my 5,000, 10,000 words.
Yeah.
I think this episode's going to be a little bit of that. But I think there's some genuinely good stuff in here, especially with Spinal Tap. And I can understand why it's held in such high regard. I mean, one, it actually spawned a somewhat successful band out of it. Two, it's got some really great subtle bits where it is such the comedy style is so undertone, it's so subtle that you've really got to be sort of like, there'll be things that'll catch you off guard, and when it's not even that ridiculous, like they have a on-running bit that the drummer always dies, like one of them spontaneously combusted, and like they replaced one of the drummers mid-show with just like a new drummer, and it's like they can't have a drummer, they constantly die. It's like this cursed thing for the band. But it also seems to be not really a big deal to any of them. And it always seemed to die in the most like ridiculous ways. What was one? There was one where it was like one of their drummers choked on vomit. And it sounds like, oh yeah, I know, rock star, like throwing up alcohol poisoning, that sort of thing. And then there's a sly little comment afterwards where it goes, it was actually someone else's vomit. So I don't know. They don't have the technology to determine whose vomit it was that he choked on. And it's one of my favorite jokes from the film, because it's little things like that where you then realize, oh, it is a mockumentary, because it could almost be a documentary by like how seriously it takes itself, but at the same time, it's almost a metal satirization of the Beatles. It's very like, look, the hair and everything's very Queen, but the music's metal, but like the Yoko Ono-esque character who talks about star signs and like tries to become manager of the band. There's often references to the White Album because they come out with a completely black album cover, and one of the core members of the band isn't happy, and I think now it's funny to see like Donda from Kanye West do it, and like it now be like a popular thing to have a completely black album. But this one being like, it was such a big deal because the original album cover was like an oiled up girl on a leash being forced to smell a glove, and then getting into debate where it's like, oh no, you see your own reflection, it's actually quite introspective, and then the other one going, it's fucking lazy, like it's a mess up, it's a screw up. I think that sort of level of like, especially at the time, subtle comedy works really well for this. But I can see sort of over time, we've become so used to comedy being a lot more obnoxious and in your face. And like the last film we watched together, William, the most recent Naked Gun, is almost the exact opposite to this film in the way that it approaches humor.
Like in general, I'm pretty happy to go with any kind of comedy, cringe comedy or dark comedy or any kind of comedy really. But there is something about, and it's when it's done right. That's the thing. Like absurdity based humor is not easy to do well. Like it's very easy to do badly. Yeah, I mean to talk before we sort of get into the film a bit more properly. I mean this was sort of. I'm sure there were other films that existed before this, but this is the earliest example I can think of a mockumentary film, or just like the mockumentary style of storytelling, which has subsequently become quite popular. Shows like The Office, Parks and Recreation, Borat did it, to a degree. Like films that are mockumentaries. I mean, I'm a big fan of the medium of the mockumentary style of.
I'm a huge fan.
Storytelling. Arrested Development as well. Actually, that's a great mockumentary.
I think Trailer Park Boys is my favorite. Trailer Park Boys is.
I'm aware of it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, but it's not your traditional. They very rarely, like there are parts, but it's almost like you don't even realize. You forget that it's a mockumentary.
Have you ever seen the Office, the US one?
Yeah, I've actually have quite an aggressive opinion about that show. I've seen it over and over because I'm a huge sitcom guy, and I don't really like. I know a lot of people have struggled with the canned laughter. I really don't mind it. It only adds that weird sort of warm feeling that I get from a sitcom where it's like, oh, it's comforting. Like it's like, oh, it's like I'm watching this on like a TV channel instead of like, binging it. It's nice.
Yeah.
But I've seen The Office, and it has 3 strong characters, I believe, and then I think it is inherently boring. It is a very boring TV series. The US Office goes on 9 seasons longer than it needed to. Honestly, between the characters of Jim, Pam, Michael, and Dwight, everyone, I don't care for Ed Helms' character, Andy. I really didn't care for it. Like that whole anything. It would actually, like, I understand it's supposed to be cringe comedy as well, but it's boring. And a lot of it's not funny. And I remember watching it thinking, I enjoy this because I enjoy the romance subplot between Jim and Pam, and I like Jim and Dwight's relationship, and I like the dynamic between Michael and Pam and Michael and Dwight and Michael and Jim. Like those, and they know that. They're the characters that are on the podcast. They're the characters that are on the like all the promotional stuff. They're on all the posters. Those are the core cast, and then the rest of the side characters. They spend so long sometimes on the side characters, and I just don't care. Can you imagine a whole episode of How I Met Your Mother, but it features almost none of the core 5? There are episodes of The Office that are like have the A plot and the B plot, and and something like it's fatiguing. I find it like because the characters are boring, and that's supposed to be part of the charm, but it's just not charming.
Have you ever seen the UK Office? Or
I have seen the UK Office. This is a significantly better show to me.
absolutely. Yeah.
I love the sitcom nature. Like, and again, I said I love The Office for its like rom-com, for its American parts. But when it tries to do that UK cringe comedy, I think that's where it falls flat a bit. I think 99% of the laughs you get is Jim looking at the camera, Dwight being a weirdo, or Michael saying something out of pocket. And it's like, those are funny moments because those are great actors. But I really like, and it's good writing because it led to Parks and Rec, which I adore. The UK Office is like, Ricky Gervais is the father of that comedy in the UK. Not that he's not, but he's like the modern day. He's that guy when it comes to sort of cringe comedy. Obviously, you've got shows like Peep Show, but that mockumentary style, like the UK one is significantly stronger in its comedy, but it's not really a sitcom.
No, not in the same way that like the US, because I think the difference is the way the US and UK do comedy is not quite the same way. Like it is different in the ways they do comedy. But I definitely I haven't seen like all of the US Office. I do intend to watch it all because it's like the most popular show, or certainly one of the most popular shows, but so far I'm not that impressed with it.
What are you up to with it?
I'm only on season 2, but I'm sure
you've experienced a bit of the dynamic. Yeah, the first and second season, and The Office is one of those shows, and I hate, and this is so common with sitcoms. The Office is one of those shows where it's like, oh, you just got to get through like the first or second season, and then it really comes into its own. It's like, but those first and second seasons are what we call the first impression, and I understand shows need to come into their own, but some of the best and Parks and Rec is like that. It becomes a very good show eventually, and The Office is like that as well. The first 2 seasons it struggles, but there are so many shows that just hit it on the head immediately.
Absolutely, completely.
I think How I Met Your Mother is a sitcom where that works. Friends as well. Arrested Development specifically. Always Sunny takes a while, but that's because of the introduction of Danny DeVito.
Yeah, I think once Danny DeVito gets introduced to it, then it's like, oh, this is a different kind of show.
But it's also the first season of Always Sunny is like 8 episodes. Like, it's not a commitment.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy to get through that.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine is one that worked really well off the bat, I think, as well. Brooklyn Nine-Nine specifically, if we're talking about sitcoms.
Yeah, This Is Spinal Tap is what we mainly going to talk about, but that's just sort of a general the mockumentary. It's sort of, I mean, there might have been other mockumentary films made before, but I would very much say it's the first one that really like people know. Like, it's the first one that really, I don't want to say it popularized like the genre, because I don't think I'd say The Office did, like the original Office did. I mean, Ricky Gervais has mentioned This Is Spinal Tap as like being really funny and being super influential to his career, and I think that's what you have to hold.
Yeah, and This Is Spinal Tap
for as a film of just the inspiration.
Yeah, and This Is Spinal Tap as well. It is incredibly funny. I think it does lack a bit of substance in the way that it doesn't really build off the fact that it's a mockumentary. It doesn't deviate from that, and it does hold true to that mockumentary style. But mockumentaries aren't your standard film. I do think the opening segment of the film, where the director is speaking to you as the audience, and he goes like, I did this commercial, the one with the dog, and then it's like, I wanted to follow Spinal Tap and this. I think that's really funny. And I think, again, the absurdist humor that is within the film, but like how low key they play it, as if like they really, and that's the difference between this film and a modern mockumentary about a fictional band like Popstar. Popstar is incredibly on the nose about its comedy, whereas this one, it's sort of spoken. It's more through the dialogue. There's one sequence where there are some very funny practical effects, like the Stonehenge being absolutely tiny, and like them getting into a really big argument backstage, and then the bass player comes in and says, I do have a practical question though, after the manager has just quit the band, and says, are we still going to do Stonehenge tomorrow? And I think that's really funny. I think because it's stuck in this mockumentary, like they're within the bounds of the mockumentary, there are some bits that like can make it feel like it lacks a bit of substance as an actual film.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think when you sort of see films that sort of invent a genre almost, they don't quite have all the rules figured out because they're creating a genre. They're making something. So you sort of have to you
Yeah,
see the sort of growing pains.
there were quite a few mockumentaries before, obviously before 1984. But
Yeah.
ones about music is pretty much there was the All You Need Is Cash, which is a mockumentary about the Beatles, and then using a fictional counterpart of the Beatles. But there was also ABBA the movie, and it was a mockumentary comedy drama about their Australian tour in 1977.
I did not know there was an ABBA.
No, that's the first one I've seen it. And then before that, there's ones about like the Nukes, the Atomic Cafe.
ABBA the movie. Huh.
But there is This Is Spinal Tap is probably the first one that, and it is really again in the league of its own in the way that it births something from it, but also other than, and I know Tenacious D, The Pick of Destiny isn't a mockumentary style, but there are very few films about like comedy-esque fictional bands, and I've listened to a bit of Spinal Tap after the film on Spotify. Their music is good, like it's really well done. It's incredibly musically sound, like decent, and for a comedy band, or for a metal band based out of a comedy mockumentary, makes it quite unique. But what have you seen about ABBA the movie?
Well, I did not know this film existed.
Yeah, I didn't either until I just read it.
Yeah,
Just did a bit of research
about their Australian tour, 1977. Its release consisted with ABBA the album, the group's fifth studio album. Yeah, I did not know they did a movie. I don't know. I was gonna say that makes sense, but I don't know if it does. But yeah, I mean, This Is Spinal Tap. It's a cult favorite for a certain group. It's got a certain niche of people who really stand by it as a great film. And I mean, I think it's fine. I didn't think it was
Yeah, I
bad
agree.
or anything, but I wasn't blown away by it. And I'm, as someone who, Rob Reiner, who's the director, I'm a big fan of a lot of his other films, like Stand By Me, Princess Bride, and Harry Met Sally, Misery, A Few Good Men. Like, I think Rob Reiner is a very good filmmaker, and this is probably one of his lesser films that I've seen. Not that it's bad or anything, but it's just I think his other films are much better. I don't know how familiar you are with his work, but like besides Spinal Tap now.
Yeah, Spinal Tap is probably like largely some of my only experience with a lot of the work. But I do think I can see why it's a cult classic. I do think that and I said this before, it lacks a bit of substance. And not every comedy has to have substance, but like I could definitely see myself. I didn't feel completely engaged throughout the film, and I feel like I would have been missing out on jokes and dialogue. And to be honest, a lot of it was kind of boring because some documentaries, especially if you're not innately interested in what it's about, can be quite boring. Where it hits quite well, but I think it's okay. Yeah, I think at the time, I don't know, maybe the media that we're exposed to nowadays is like I can understand why it would have been so considered such a cult classic for people who like first saw it as their first exposure to that mockumentary comedy.
I will say, I think having watched a lot of other mockumentaries like The Office, Arrested Development, however many episodes of Community do mockumentary episodes, Pop
Yeah,
Star, What We Do in the Shadows, Wellington Paranormal, Modern Family, even a lot, lots of. If this was like the first mockumentary you'd ever seen and you hadn't seen something like this, I think it would hit differently because you don't know what you're like to expect from it. And I agree with the point you made just sort of before about, a documentary some documentaries can be boring because they're about like a subject that you don't give a shit about, or they're about someone you don't care about. I like totally get that, and I personally don't get the whole, because I've seen films like documentaries and I think they're shit because they're about something I don't have an interest in. But my sort of whole perspective is like, just because I'm not inherently a fan of this doesn't mean that I can't be a fan of this. Like, I don't
Yeah,
really care for jazz music, but Whiplash is a great movie. Like, so it's
exactly. Yeah,
it's sort of like,
yeah,
I
and I
don't
think
care about
that's a
ballet, but
failure
black swans
of
are
the.
great. You know,
Yeah, and
Black
I
Swan's
but
a
I
great
think
film.
that's a restriction of the mockumentary format. I
Mm,
think because Whiplash isn't a mockumentary, can be like I don't again I at, at the time I wasn't too bothered about jazz music in LA, and then I watched La La Land. Like I it's and then like you can become enveloped of like what a film can do is build a new environment for you, and you can become like enveloped within a culture that you previously were a bit like, oh, I don't really know much about. Like for example, I never really liked the genre of like growing up. I was never into pirates. I
mm,
wasn't like scared of them, but I was just never into them. And I know that this is more of like it's not like a culture, but it's more of like a genre or a theme. But I just never cared for it. And like right now, even though I've watched Shaun of the Dead, I still don't, and I love Shaun of the Dead, and it's one of my favorite films ever. I don't care
mm,
for zombie films. I think they lend themselves to lazy writing, and I've said that a few
mm.
times. And I always thought pirates are sort of similar. Like I didn't watch anime or One Piece. So I don't watch anime, and I never really cared for it until, and hadn't watched Pirates of the Caribbean until I was about 14 because I just
Oh,
didn't care.
that's a
And
man. That's interesting because I kind of grew up with those first couple Pirates films, but
yeah, I hadn't avoided them. They just never like I
they
just
just
see it
didn't.
on and be like, oh, it's pirates. I don't care. Like, and then one day I was like, oh, there's not like I think I was sick home from school, and I was like, I'm just gonna watch Pirates of the Caribbean. It was on Netflix or something, and I'm like, I'm just gonna watch them all. It's something I should watch. And it was when I was going through and watching a bunch of films that I felt like I needed to watch, and still didn't watch Indiana Jones. But yeah, Pirates, and I fell in love with it. Like I fell in love with Pirates of the Caribbean, and it became a whole thing for me. And like to the point where it's like I'm not into pirates, but like I'm more into them now. I'm
Yeah,
less like, oh, I don't care. I'm like, no, they made it an interesting theme. And that's what This
yeah,
Is Spinal Tap does. Not with mocking. Oh, this is where This Is Spinal Tap sort of a thing fails. Is it never really got me, and I think because it's that mockumentary style, it can't get you. And I have an innate interest, and it's interesting because I have an innate interest in music biographies. So
mm,
when I was like 12, when Straight Outta Compton came out, and I was a huge
mm,
NWA fan. I loved
mm.
NWA like from age 9. I still do, but like
Yeah. I
it
was about
was
to say you're
all
not an NWA fan anymore. I thought you were quite
no,
a big
but
fan of it.
yeah. Well, like while after Ice Cube, I'm not a fan. I don't care. I'm a big Ice Cube fan, and how good is War of the Worlds? But no, I I'm a big NWA fan, and I watched Straight Outta Compton, and I fell in love with the music biographies. Taron Egerton in John's the Bohemian Rhapsody, which I thought was really good. Even Tupac's All Eyes on Me, like although Tupac's one was a bit like, it wasn't very good, but like I did fall in love with that sort of genre of like music biographies, and I thought This Is Spinal Tap, even being a mockumentary, would still sort of fit within that gap, and I just didn't think that it did. And I think
Yeah.
it was because it was a mockumentary. It
Mm,
wasn't able to really explore Spinal Tap as a band as much as it was like confined by its like mockumentary constraints of like, okay, we need to be
yeah.
in these certain environments, and we're filming dialogue between the characters, and we can't really put them in awkward situations because that wouldn't really happen. So it has to be somewhat realistic, and it was just slightly boring.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story?
Yeah, Dewey Cox Walk Hard. Yeah. Oh my god, that's got one of my favorite. Not only is like the Beatles with like Jack Black and Paul Rudd,
It's
but
just so good.
the the dialogue when they're talking about weed is one of the funniest things. No, Joey, you don't want anything to do with this. No, it's non-habit forming, and you don't get a hangover, and sex is even better. And it's like, but he's trying to like tell him not to do it by basically like hyping him up about doing it the whole time.
I mean, yeah, doing. I mean, I know it's a fictional film, but it's
Yeah,
one of the best films
well, it's
about like
within
a
his vein.
musician because it's just
Blues Brothers,
really
yeah.
funny. Yeah, but I think I didn't find Spinal Tap particularly funny. I think it's because I don't think it's necessarily trying to be like a laugh out loud comedy funny. I think it's like trying to be more of a subtle comedy, um, which can hit,
Yeah,
and
for
work in the
sure.
right like context. It just didn't for me in this case. Like I really just didn't know what to look. It's good, but I didn't find myself laughing that much, and I feel like that's kind of the whole point of a comedy is you're meant to laugh. Like I don't know, maybe like it shouldn't be a controversial take, but like that's kind of the point of comedies is to make you laugh, and I feel
No,
like
I agree.
yeah. And the thing with it as well is like I will probably treat it much more harshly because it's not like a comedy's not funny.
Funny?
Like
Yeah,
yeah, like
yeah. No,
if it's not funny,
that's
I'll be more upset because it's meant to be funny and it just
that's completely valid as well. That's a completely valid take. I think films largely they exist within their genre to make you have an emotional reaction, right? They're trying to like get an emotional reaction out of you, whether or not it's fear or also, like that jump scary
yes,
feeling, or if it's sadness, or if it's like love and warmth, or if it's like what is it trying to make you feel and think about. Comedies
yeah,
is it's trying to make you laugh, and a lot of the times it can be trying to make you laugh while also trying to make you think critically about your environment or the environment that it's satirizing. I think Sacha Baron Cohen's comedies are really good for not only being funny but also it's not absurd to the point where it is absurd, like he almost gets killed in real life, but like a, but it, like Borat as a character is absurd, but it shines a light on the American culture towards immigration and racism, and it's like so it can have an important message behind it and substance, but first and foremost it has to be funny, because in order to get at least me as a viewer, if you want me having to be thinking about that sort of stuff and not that and get me into your film, I want to be laughing. And the thing is
yeah,
this doesn't really have it has a lot of funny moments that I mentioned. I actually quite enjoyed it, but there were parts, but there were glaring overall flaws, like the fact that it lacked any other thing outside of the one-off jokes. Like, what did
yeah.
it say? What was it telling us? What was in it besides the fact
Mm,
that it was like a sort of a mockumentary about a band that doesn't exist, and it had a few one-liners and like
mm.
recurring gags. Even I'm going to keep comparing it to Popstar and its sort of juxtaposition with that, because Popstar is the most modern example and closest example I can think of. Popstar is a lot more absurd and in your face, and the songs are supposed to be funny, and it's a lot more physical comedy, but it critiques it's critiquing like it's the satirization of genuine artists who are actually like this, and of the music scene in Hollywood, and of like this boy band culture, and of this and of that, and it also has like a little heartfelt message in it as well, but it first and foremost, it's really, really funny. Spinal Tap is sometimes funny and has like a satirization of Yoko Ono, and that's about it.
And I don't necessarily need every comedy to be like the funniest thing I've ever seen, and to be like gag, gag,
It's got to
gag
be,
every second. But
yeah.
it does need to. I do need to find it funny to a degree, and I just didn't. Yeah, really get that from this. And again, maybe it's because they were just kind of figuring out the genre of the mockumentary that they sort of were like, well, how do we do this? Which so I can sort of look at that, and I think because I've seen mockumentaries that have basically perfected the genre, like that are I like it's fun. Like it's a perfectly watchable film, but this is that kind of film where I like it. I have no problem watching it, but it's also not something I necessarily feel an urge to revisit again because it's like it's fine, but it's not like amazingly good or anything in the way that a lot of other films are for me. Like there's like well, when I give my rating at the end, there's lots of other films I would give that same rating, but they're just much stronger and they're like really just much better films, I think, than this. But saying things to extend the runtime, as Harry said.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we did our little sitcom tangent. I do think that.
I was just gonna say, did you want to talk about the cast a little bit?
Yeah, we can. So actually, I'm not gonna lie. Innately unrecognizable cast. And I think we spoke about the lead guitar Michael McKean in Clue.
Yeah, which I think we were both we were both a big fan of him in that film. I remember,
and obviously from Better Call Saul.
Obviously from Better Call Saul, yeah. Chuck McGill, and I do really like Michael McKean, and yeah, I think as we both said, he was really great in Clue, and thought he was really fucking funny in that film actually, with like that final line where it's like, I'm gonna go home and bang my wife.
I'm gonna go home and bang my wife. Yeah, it's crazy what that 70s or 80s like rock band hair can like sort of distort how someone looks.
Oh god, yeah. It just doesn't. Yeah, there are certain actors where you just give them a different haircut and they're unrecognizable. I'm like, who is that? Or or I see them when they're younger and I'm like, who is that? And it takes me forever to figure out who they are. It's like if I watched a film with like Maggie Smith in it, and because like Maggie Smith basically looked the same for pretty much every film I've ever seen her in. Like she basically looks the same age. So, like, if I watched a Maggie Smith film when she was like 20, I probably wouldn't recognize her because that's just not what Maggie Smith looks like to me. You know, it's like it's that thing where like I know them as an older person.
Yeah, and I did also want to mention Harry Shearer, who he plays. He's the bass player, but I know him mostly as a huge Simpsons fan. He voices a lot of the characters. Off the top of my head, he does like Ned, Burns, Smithers, the Reverend Lovejoy, Skinner, Principal, the news, Kent Brockman.
Yeah,
and then I think he does a smattering of others as well. But he's incredibly iconic. Yeah.
Yeah, and it says here he voiced Dr. Hibbert.
Up until they changed that out.
Up until they changed that and said, yeah, we can't have that. I mean, yeah, that's what I know Harry Shearer from. So it's weird to see him in like a live action film because he just doesn't register in that. Like, it's like if I saw a film with like Billy West in it, I'm like, why is like Fry from Futurama like in live action? That doesn't make any sense. Apparently Harry Shearer was in The Truman Show. I did not know that.
But he was in The Truman Show.
He's one of the. He's in like when like people who run the show, isn't it? Like he's one of the
crew.
Like Ed Harris and the Paul Giamatti.
I believe so.
Yeah. There's also Christopher Guest, who is I think he's more of a filmmaker, I think, than like an act. Like he, not that he doesn't act, but he did. Well, I mean, besides Spinal Tap, obviously, he was did like Best in Show, and I mean, he did a lot of other mockumentaries. I think Christopher Guest is very much one of those people who he's part of the foundation of the mockumentary genre, in the way that it's sort of not that I don't know if he's like the person who came up with the idea, but he's very much that's what he did, and he helped sort of make it more of a well-known thing.
Yeah, Yeah, and I mean they do quite a good job as well. Again, a lot of them I found were not super recognizable. Like Harry Shearer, I wouldn't be able to tell you his face,
Oh no, I
but I know
definitely
him
could
by
not tell you what
name.
he looked. There are certain like if you are like to be honest, most of the people in The Simpsons, I probably couldn't tell you like what they like. I could not tell you what Dan Castellaneta looks like. You know, like I know, like I know his I know his voice and everything, but like yeah, if you told me to tell you what he looked like, I would not be able to tell you what Dan Castellaneta looked like because I don't think I've ever seen him in a film where he's like acting instead of voice acting.
Yeah, and man, it got me wanting to talk about The Simpsons. But yeah, Harry Shearer is such an iconic like voice actor, and
Yeah, no, definitely. He's
he's
a
older than people talk about. He's in his 70s.
yeah, no, I mean most
Yeah,
of
he's
that Simpsons
81.
cast.
He's 81.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, most of that Simpsons cast, they're like 70, like very late 60s, if at least, if not 70s or 80s, and I'm like, they're gonna have to like the woman who does the voice of like Marge on The Simpsons, like her voice just sounds so strained now, and it's just like,
Yeah.
this is yeah, just really like even Lisa, her voice sounds pretty strained now because and it's weird because it's a, she's like a 8-year-old or something in that. She's like I always forget. Like
Yeah.
Lisa, like she's a primary school kid basically.
Yeah,
But
she's 8. Yeah, she's supposed
she's
to be
8,
8, and
yeah.
Bart's 10. And Bart's 10. And Bart, you can tell, even the voice actor for Bart, it's always been a woman, and you can tell that their voice is starting to break more and come through. But yeah, it's just one
Yeah.
of those things. It's going to happen.
I mean, even like
And
Futurama recently, like the cast of Futurama, some of them are starting to sound noticeably older in these roles.
yeah,
And like that's not a diss, like they're still doing good giving good vocal performances, but you can tell they're getting older and they
so
don't sound as young anymore. Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see the sort of how this is Spinal Tap and how the upcoming sequel with just the age difference of the band members and how it's going to be. Um, if we wanted to maybe look at ratings,
Mm,
rating them, I'd
yeah.
probably say give it a. For me, it's like a solid 6. It's okay. I thought it was funny where it needed to be, but I feel like it lacked quite a lot, and I got quite bored. And I mean, a large point of the film is to invoke an emotion, but also to entertain, and
Mm,
wasn't very entertaining.
mm. Yeah, I give it sort of a low 7. Like it's just like it's yeah it's
So you were significantly more critical of it than I was. I was a bit more positive, and you've given it a
yeah.
high rating.
I thought you were gonna go 7 to be honest. Yeah, I was surprised at that. I think it like 7 is kind of my base like standard score for like most things I watch. I'm gonna be honest, like 7 is like the general score I give like most things I watch.
Yeah,
Like
I'm trying to
and
be a bit more dynamic with my
yeah,
ratings, to be honest.
and 7's that kind of thing where like you see nowadays, I feel like with like video games and stuff, like if you don't give a film like a 9 or a 10, it means like you hate it. Like people don't understand that like a 7 out of 10 is like a pretty good score for something, but like if IGN gives like a game a 7 out of 10, people are like, oh, it's bad, it's mid, it's or whatever, and it's like, well, no, that's not actually how it works. 7 is like a good score. It's not like I think that the film yeah, no, I think it's like yeah, it's very watchable and it'll be interesting to see how they do this sequel now that it's been what 40 years since
Yeah.
40 years since that came out. It'll be interesting to see how they sort of handle it because of how much the genre has changed and how much evolution there's been in the genre now. Like, because we were saying it's like the original Spinal Tap is basically yeah, more or less invented a genre to a degree, whereas now it's being made, a sequel's being made 40 years later, and it's got, they've got how many years worth of, sort of refining of the genre. And I think that'll be interesting to see how they take it now, because of the changes that have happened with the ways in which they're made. And Rob Reiner, I don't think has directed a film in a long time. Like, I don't know. I'll have to actually, I'll look at his filmography because I don't remember when his last film was, but it's been a while since he's like directed a film, I think. Sorry, let me check. His last film that he directed, well, there was a film he directed in 2023 called Albert Brooks Defending My Life. So 2 years ago, so that's not that long ago, really. But then his last film before that was Shock and Awe in 2017. So it's been like... And a documentary is not... I mean, I guess it's practice for a mockumentary to a degree, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think that it'll be interesting to see how it works out, because doing a legacy sequel is very questionable in terms of whether it works or not. Because sometimes it works, but a lot of the time it doesn't work. I mean, are there any legacy sequels that you are a fan of that like you can think of and you say, "Oh, that was good, that was worth it"?
Not many. I think Happy Gilmore was okay. I thought the most recent Happy Gilmore sequel was okay. I really didn't think it was too bad, but that's about it. I really think Dumb and Dumber 2 was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
I'm just looking at a list of legacy sequels. Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, that was great.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say you're a big fan of Top Gun Maverick. I mean, are you a big fan of like the original Top Gun, or are you just sort of like, yeah, that's a bit?
I was okay. I enjoyed it, but like I didn't. I'm not a Top Gun fan. I just thought Maverick did a really good job as a legacy sequel. Oh, yeah, Naked Gun. I'd say the Naked Gun.
Oh yeah, Naked Gun, which we saw together.
But sequel is, I would say, it's almost like it does follow on, but it is sort of like a.
It's like
a reboot,
a reboot.
It's a
reboot,
soft reboot.
It's a soft reboot.
They're all the sons of like the
it references
they're all the kids of the previous.
But it does work. It's not really it works as it's like if you've never seen the other Naked Gun films, you can enjoy this new Naked Gun. And to be fair, Harry and I, we saw Naked Gun together, and we were both fucking cracking up. Like we would.
Oh, it was it was piss yourself laughing.
It was real, and there were some really good jokes. Some that I don't think I can say on here because but there's the Black Eyed Peas joke I thought was fantastic.
Very delicious. Yeah.
Yeah. That the Bill Cosby joke I thought was really so fucking out of pocket, but it really got me. I thought that was really, really funny. Yeah, that's probably the most recent one I can think of for legacy sequels. That, and I definitely don't think it's as good as like the original Naked Gun, but I think it is. It could have been worse. Like it could have been quite bad, but I think it worked really, really well, and it's just really, really funny. Which that's what you want. But I'm very much sort of can take or leave this sequel. I'll see it for this podcast. And I think I was probably going to go see it anyway. But the podcast is just gives me more of an excuse to give it a watch. I mean, I assume you will see it because we'll be talking about it for the review of the year.
I'll do what I can to see it. Yeah.
But also, you don't have a cinema near you.
Not until the end of the year, so that's what we can't close. But it'll I for these sort of films, I have to wait until they're officially like released and then digitally released, and then I can watch it.
But I mean, we'll talk about it in the review of the year episode, because we'll have seen it. I will have more than likely seen it by then, because I have tried to. I've set myself a personal challenge of trying to watch 100 films released in 2025 by the end of the year.
Ooh.
It's yeah. I'm currently at 39 films, so I really need to start watching some more films
Yeah,
because
just 61 more. It's okay.
yeah, like there's less. There's more than 100 days, so it's like not even one a day at the moment. So I should be fine, and some days I can get like a couple films in a day. So, but yeah, we'll talk about Spinal Tap, yeah, in the review of the year. And I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything you want to say, Harry?
Not really. I try, but I can't be expected to have a message for every. Actually, no, maybe. I've got a joke for you. Did I tell you about it? I think I told you some of my dad jokes. I've been telling
Maybe.
everyone.
I mean,
I think we were getting lunch, and I was like, "Have you ever heard of the joke about the two fish in the tank? One fish turns to the other fish and says, do you know how to drive this fucking thing?" I think that's funny. But like, other than that, yeah, I don't have a whole lot. There you go.
Yeah. Fucking hell.
Mm.
We are nearly at episode 200 in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, couple of weeks. It's very soon. Harry will be on for that one.
Yes, I will.
And we will talk about. We've had to make some slight adjustments to what we're going to be covering, but plans changed, so we're going to be covering something different for it now. But we know what we're going to be doing for it now, and it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a beloved classic of cinema. So
yes,
that'll be in a couple of weeks, end of September, beginning of October is the plan. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And Harry will be joining me for then. So it'll be a good one, I think. So I hope you've all enjoyed listening. It's a bit shorter this week, but I hope. But there's lots of other podcast episodes to listen to, including other ones with Harry. So if you want to hear more Harry, there's a lot. So go listen to them. If you just click on a random one, there's a very good chance you'll just find Harry in it. Harry's done a lot, so if you just pick one at random, and you'll probably find it. So
yeah. Anything to do with honestly, there's, let's say 200 episodes. I'm probably in about 35% of them, 40 maybe.
Around there, I'd say. I might have a look before the and see how many you've actually done, and see like which people have done the most episodes, because I don't actually know, because I don't keep track of this kind of thing. Thank you all for listening to this week's episode. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.